보건복지부 장관이 타겟이었어. 넌 여기서 지원해. 난 본하부 국장님한테 연락할게.
네.
그러니까 지금 학교 강당에서 테러가 일어날지도 모른다는 거예요?
아마도요. 아직 폭탄이 발견된 거 아니니까 100% 확률은 아니에요.
거기 우리 애들 있어요.
뭐라고? 알았어. 일단 내가 갈게.
Kupumzika ni mbinguni.
Sawa mama.
Ni nani unaita mama?
Pole mzee.
Ni kama utasikia mokaka.
Ukiniangalia hivi ni ani productive na vile nimesa watoto wengi mpaka huko nje.
Sasa unataka kuniambia baka hii madisi yote wamefinya?
Sio yeye peke yake mpaka hii wamevinya.
Mimi ndio mvinyi tu.
Haya basi umemaliza. Kucha sasa univinye.
Oh, nikuvinye wewe ni hapa kando.
Nini nakusumbwaga wewe? Mkipatana mwambie akuja nikatakate anikule.
Sasa nasikia kabisa ndaweza chukua tunia nipeleke
Swallow? You are wallowing.
Hata nikiusia customers chakula inanukaga usee.
Sasa wataka kufanya wewe ndio bora zaidi kushinda huo maneja wangu.
Visit the Nairobi International Trade Fair from 25th September to 1st October at the Jamhuri Park Showground. Come learn, network and have lots of fun. There will be innovations, farm and dairy produce, livestock, trade and sales, technology, SMEs exhibitions, fun fair, food and entertainment. All are welcome. For the gate charges, perimeter, adults 300 Kenyan shillings and children 250. Special parties, adults 250, children 200.
Good evening indeed. This is Sunday Express on KBC Channel 1 and we start off on a high note. Why? Because the Kenya Sevens rugby team that is Shujaa have qualified for the 2024 Olympic Games that are to be held in 2024 in Paris, France. This is after beating South Africa to clinch that slot. However, they still have to play a qualifier, a Challenger Series, a match in the Challenger Series for the IRB 7 Series. But my colleague, in the course of this particular bulletin, that is Bernardo Kumu, is going to be giving you the details of what next for the Shujaa team. You're watching Sunday Express. I'm Regina Manyara. But now, before we bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines in the last 12 hours, let's have a look at the headlines. Ditch the arrogance. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua warns cabinet secretaries against being insensitive to Kenyans' plight.
We demand his immediate and unconditional release. All his immediate production in court.
Search for minor Njenga. Azimio leaders accuse police of abducting the former Mungiki leader. And a tragic end to a white wedding. Sorrow as groom dies on his wedding day. Good evening, I'm Regina Manyara, and my colleague on sign language interpretation is none other than Byron Abuli. Also, in the course of this particular program, we're going to be talking about creating awareness on dyslexia and the signs, symptoms, and where to seek treatment. So do keep it right here. Now, the National Sevens team, Shujaa, have qualified for the Paris 2024 Olympics after beating South Africa 17-12 at the Rugby Africa Sevens Cup final at the Harare Sports Club this evening.
So they have been away from this for quite a while.
Shujaa are the new African rugby champions after winning the series for the 6th time. Shujaa marched into the cup finals after convincing 35-10 against host Zimbabwe's in semis.
And loses it on the deck and then dives on it.
They have also booked a slot in the 2024 World Rugby 7 Challenger Series, which is a pathway to returning to the 2024-2035 World Rugby 7 Series. Shujaa were one of the core teams in the 7 Series since 2002-2003 season, but were relegated at the end of 2022-2023 season. South Africa have been relegated to the Olympic Rempechers, where they will vie for the 12th and the final slot of next year's Olympic in Paris.
Breaking the line, but defense comes back quickly. And rock center field, penalty Kenya.
Former champions Uganda will also play in the Rempechers after beating host Zimbabwe 24-7 to finish third.
Kenya, Shujaa Sevens on the rise. They've been smarting since that relegation from the HSBC Sevens.
What can I say? Well, in boys, now let's look at how you're going to be performing in the Challenges series there to get back onto IRB Sevens series. The last time that Kenya played in the Olympics in as far as rugby is concerned were the Tokyo Olympics. All the best. And also some of the news that we're getting here in studio is that Kisumu Boys Pavilion and a section of the school dormitory is on fire. We're going to be keeping tabs on that, on the progress of salvaging that particular learning institution. Now, national, as we said, that the national schools, that's the best that they could do, and they did well there. But now let's look and focus at matters politics, where Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has warned cabinet secretaries and government advisors against addressing Kenyans with arrogance as the government works on solutions to reduce the cost of living. Gachagua, in a statement upon his return from Colombia, read the Riot Act to the leaders, urging them to be sensitive to the plight of Kenyans, show humility, and exercise servant leadership. This comes as Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale called for the sacking of public servants whose utterances, he says, were hurting the image of the government.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is back in the country after his tour of Colombia, as the government works on revamping the coffee sector. The DP, in a statement announced while he was away, he remained abreast with issues in the country. In his statement, the DP took a swipe at a section of cabinet secretaries and government advisors over their utterances following the spike in fuel prices. The DP says, and I quote, "I want to call upon fellow leaders, particularly those that our President William Ruto has given privilege to serve Kenyans, to exercise caution in addressing their employer, the people of Kenya. It is insensitive to talk down to people. You do not address your employer with arrogance. Do so with humility and decorum. Please do not spite the people of Kenya," he added. End of quote. The DP further cautioned leaders against demoralizing Kenyans, urging them to instead inspire hope, be humble, and serve with humility, adding that Kenya, like the rest of the world, is going through difficult economic times, and the government remains committed to finding a sustainable solution to the economic challenges. This comes barely a day after Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria engaged in a public spat with Kenyans through his social media accounts, saying fuel prices will continue to rise and Kenyans should brace for tougher times. Remarks that appear to have angered Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale, who is now calling on government to hold him accountable.
Mtu ambaye anaitwa Minister for Trade, mtu ambaye anaitwa Waziri wa Energy, na mtu ambaye anaitwa your economic advisors, lazima watuambie sisi wa Kenya, what did they mean? President Ruto, sack these people.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya now is claiming that former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga was abducted by police officers, but his whereabouts are unknown. Speaking at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation, Azimio co-principal Martha Kirua wants the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Koome, to produce Njenga. His family claims he was picked up by unknown people on Saturday night, and efforts to trace him and his whereabouts have remained fruitless. Here's our reporter, Abdiaziz Hashim, with the new developments.
The family of former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga says he was allegedly whisked away from his home by unknown persons along with his aide Felix Lekishe a few minutes to midnight on Saturday in Kiambu County. The family says they spent the better part of Sunday inquiring on his whereabouts with little success.
Last evening we got that information. I was personally called by my client, Mr. Maina Njenga, informing me of his abduction. He was able to identify his abductors. There is no doubt that his abductors are the police officers.
Azimio leaders led by NAK Kenya party leader Martha Karua and Wipers Kalonzo Musyoka now claim that Njenga was apprehended by officers attached to the National Police Service.
When police make an arrest, they are supposed to identify themselves and tell the person they are arresting the reasons for the arrest. This was not done.
That this is a country under the rule of law. But what we are witnessing is complete reversal of all the gains that we have made.
They have questioned the motive behind his alleged arrest in the dead of the night.
We demand his immediate and unconditional release. All his immediate production in court. We want to make it clear that we will hold the Inspector General of Police fully liable.
We will ask ourselves what is the usefulness of this dialoguing discussions if this continued harassment has not ceased.
This comes as Njenga is scheduled to appear before Makadara Law Court on Monday for mentioning of a case in which he is accused of being in possession of crude weapons contrary to the law.
Then the police should be answerable for whatever happens. Tomorrow we are scheduled to appear before the Makandara court. You can now see we do not have a client.
Abdiaziz Hashim for Sunday Express.
We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is urging Kenyans to support the government development agenda regardless of their political stand. Speaking during a church service at the Malindi Catholic Church, Wetangula said the country needs to move on, adding that it is time to implement government policies.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is now calling on Kenyans to be patient and support the government despite the current hard economic times.
Tunaomba Wakenya wote watapata mbalimbali kwa kisiasa, kwa jamii, tuwe na roho ya kupendana, kusameheana, hata kupitishana. Mimi nikikushinda, wewe ungojee siku nyingine.
Speaking in a church service at the Malindi Catholic Church, Wetangula called on Kenyans to give elected leaders time to work since elections are over. This as a section of clergy called on security agencies to work closely with religious leaders in efforts to fight crime. Dr. Reverend Peter Muia, the vicar of the ACK St. Martin's Church in Kawendani, Kiambu County, noted that since the church touches all aspects of life, the cooperation will go a long way towards reducing crime.
Kwa sababu kanisa tuko in all aspects of life. Tunapoweza kuhubiria watu na kuambia kuhusu maandiko na waweze kupunguza uofu wa kufanya maneno ambayo hayabatani na Mungu na serikali.
Wazazi wapate kuchunguza mtoto at his free time ni nini anafanya. Watoto siku hizi wameanza kuharibiwa na maneno ya social media.
And a section of spiritual leaders has faulted some politicians for poking holes in the Kenya Kwanza government. Led by the Stewards Revival Pentecostal Church Bishop Samuel Njiriri, the leaders want politicians to focus their energies on executing their mandate.
Kila wakati Kenya yetu tunapopata jambo, tunaanza kuleta siasa kwa kila jambo. President wetu William Ruto ni mtu mwerefu, is a wise man. Hangetaka ifike mahali ati awe ni rais wa mwaka moja. Kwa hivyo juu ya madeni ambao yako katika nchi hii yetu ya Kenya, ndio tunasema tumpatie nafasi. Kwa hivyo itafika mahali ambapo uchumi wa nchi hii utaingia vizuri wakati tutakapoondokea kwa madeni.
Now to Kisumu, where Kisumu Girls High School has been closed indefinitely following student unrest. The students went on a rampage this morning after a 3-day standoff with the school administration over what they termed as high-handedness from the school principal, administration of corporal punishment, and keeping students at sick bay without seeking proper medication. This is a section of Kisumu Boys Pavilion and school dormitory went up in flames this evening in a suspected case of arson. Achola Simon reports.
Kisumu Girls High School has been closed indefinitely after a 3-day standoff between the students and the school administration.
From Friday, there has been issues in this school where a number of girls were making noise and refusing to participate in the activities of the school.
Among the issues raised by the students of Camera was high-handedness by the school principal over keeping of sick students at the sick bay without proper medication and administration of corporal punishment by some teachers against the ministry's directive.
We will look at the grievances. If there is strength and truth on the grievances that are given, especially on corporal punishment. As you are aware, corporal punishment is illegal. We will take action.
The students are said to have snubbed church service this morning and instead opted to play loud music at the school's dining hall. Power failing the institution was, however, interpreted by the students as a deliberate move to deny them entertainment. They would then go on a rampage, destroying everything on sight.
This morning they have woken up, but with increased agitation. They first went to the dining hall and wanted to play all types of music. Yet it's a day to go and pray, being a Sunday. Eventually there was a blackout, but they interpreted to be a targeted move to prevent them from listening to their music. So they started shouting and throwing papers here and there.
The school's board and school's administration was holed up in a meeting for the better part of the day to try and address the students' grievances before normal learning can resume. Achola Simon, Sunday Express, Kisumu County.
Now, regarding that particular update from Kisumu in regard to the Kisumu Pavilion there in Kisumu Boys, we have an update from the County Commissioner Hussein Allah. So let's have a listen in to what exactly is or rather has been going on in the last 1 hour.
Commissioner Kisumu, we are here with the Regional Director of Education, the City Manager, and a multi-agency team drawn from various government agencies. We responded to a distress call from the school. As you have been told, or as you have seen, there's a dormitory that was on fire a few minutes ago. But our firefighters were able to respond very quickly and were able to contain and actually put off the fire. We can now confirm that the fire has been contained, and so far no casualties have been reported. All the students have been accounted for, and what we are now doing is just to assure the parents that the children are also safe, and then the parents will make arrangements on how to accommodate the students for tonight. Then we'll come back again tomorrow to see way forward how to rebuild back at the dormitory. Otherwise, for now, the fire has been contained. There's no cause for alarm. Thank you so much. Any question?
What was the cause of the...
We cannot at this moment say that at this moment we are not able to say what's the cause of the fire. But our officers are here on site. Our DCI officers are on site already, and they are investigating what actually caused the fire. But it is too early to say what caused the fire now.
We've also seen a number of students, some first aid being administered to them. Just can you tell us the number of students and the scale of the injuries they suffered?
I think that one is not for news. Those are not injuries. I'm told there are some students who had some shock. They are being treated for shock, not injuries as such. Yeah. Thank you so much. Maybe the director can say something. Direct.
I just want to reassure all the parents that all our children have been accounted for. The hostel that was on fire affected 260 students. The fire started from the store where we have mattresses. Immediately, the whole school, including teachers and workers, moved to the nearest hostel and removed students' items that were in the hostel. So we are happy that we have not had destruction of even student property because of that effort of the school community. I want to thank the multi-agency team led by the county commissioner and the city manager for that quick action. You have seen they moved in very fast, even including the ambulance for any student who might have been affected. We will assure the parents that tomorrow there will be a desk for all the parents.
Well, that was earlier in response to that fire where it's a suspected arson case, but the cause of the fire is yet to be identified. But good reprieve there, information, and that has been clarified there by County Commissioner Kisumu, that is Hussein Alaso, that of the 260 students of Kisumu boys are accounted for. They're being treated for shock and not any injury. For now, they're finding solutions to where they're going to spend the night, and tomorrow we'll start a quest to find out exactly the cause of the fire. That's just an update. Remember, our website is also open for your perusal for further details. Now we cross over to Machakos, where tragedy struck a village in Kangundo, Machakos County, following the death of a groom on his wedding day. Michael Musyoki, who was set to renew his vows with his spouse, Mary Musyoki, is reported to have collapsed and died while in the bathroom. Our reporter Nancy Okware has the details of the unfortunate turn of events that has left the family in mourning with more questions than answers.
The D-Day dawned after months of planning. The church was decorated, but as fate would have it, the couple, who have been together for 31 years and had 7 children and 7 grandchildren, would not have their happily ever after.
Jana tulikutana jioni kitu kama around saa 8 nikiwa nakuja sokoni. Nikamuuliza, nikamwambia Pop, nilisikia habari yako bila ulitumana ripoti yako tukuje tukusaidie kwa kanisa. Akaniambia ndio, nimesikia lakini mkuje mapema.
Harusi tumejiandaa kutoka siku yenye ilipangwa mpaka saa hii, mpaka leo asubuhi. Lakini sina kusema, utaumia.
Mary Musyoki, the spouse to the deceased, narrated her last moments with her late husband.
Alikuwa tu mzuri. Akaamka asubuhi akakuja hapa kwa jikoni, akaangalia wapikaji wa chakula, alafu akarudi nyumbani. Akakuja nikampatia chai, akakunywa, na nikamwekea maji, akaenda kwa mbapo akaoga. Akiendelea na kuoga, akaanguka ndani ya mbapo. Kutoka hapo tukamchukua tukampeleka hospitali na akahanga dunia.
Tukasema wacha tuende nyumbani tuone bibi harusi. Tulipokuwa hapo kwa njia tukakutana na padri. Tukamwambia kumetokea matatizo, kuna ugonjwa, tukasema tuende tu hospitali. Tukaenda Kivani, tulipofika hapo daktari alituambia mzee amekwisha aga.
Despite the dark cloud, family and friends proceeded to the church for a mass presided over by Father John Muinde.
And from there we proceeded to the church where the wife, Mary Mbide, was received in the Catholic Church because she had studied in the KBC Church.
They would then proceed to Kamanzi Primary School for the reception and share cake, perhaps as a symbol to celebrate his life. Their faces reflecting mixed emotions. The body of the late Michael was taken to Kivani Funeral Home as the family began to plan for his funeral on a day that was to be his wedding day. Nancy Okware, Sunday Express.
Well, I have nothing to say. Death is coming for us all. No one lives to tell that story, but, well, may his soul continue resting in peace, and may the wife rest in knowing that he was in for solemnizing and renewing their vows there. We take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Usiwe mtazamaji pekee, shiriki kwenye Lucky Game na pia wewe unaweza jishindia kama Sheila.
Nimeshinda TV 55 inch. Nimeshinda
Na imefika star 570 hash. Chagua Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Choose one of the boxes ambayo unahisi kwamba iko na bahati yako. Cheza sasa hivi mahali popote wakati wowote. Kumbuka ni star 570 hash. Jishindie.
Shinda pesa moto moto.
This is still Sunday Express. In not too long, we're going to be talking about dyslexia. But let's first keep you abreast on what has been happening in the last 12 hours or so. Now, the government intends to diversify the tourism sector to include culture and traditional heritage. Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza says the ministry is collaborating with the 47 counties in a bid to organize culture and traditional festivals. She spoke in Tharaka Nithi during the Tharaka Cultural Festival.
From beautiful traditional dances to showcasing of indigenous delicacies and brews, and also the traditional way of grain milling, not forgetting the traditional household items made of calabashes and sticks. All this during the Tharaka Community Cultural Festival, known as Uragate Festival, held in Meru National Park's Uragate. The festival attracted thousands of people from far and wide. Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza was here too. She urged the county governments to hold such cultural festivals as a means of celebrating and preserving Kenya's diverse heritage.
Imewajibika kuangalia zile vitu zetu ambao ziliibwa na mkoloni, na tunadai tunasifuata huko ng'ambo ili sirudishwe hapa na sirudishwe na fidia.
National parks zote ambao ziko karibu na communities katika Kenya, Rais akiwa kule Kajiado alitoa amri kwamba the revenue ile inapatikana katika parks ikuwe shared 50-50 na communities.
Malonza said the Ura Festival had played a great role in promoting environmental and wildlife conservation and also human-wildlife coexistence.
Vile tumeamulika leo, tutatengeneza documentary ambayo tutaanza kuuza Ulaya. Ndiposa mwaka ujao sisi hatutakuwa hapa peke yetu. Tutakuwa na watalii wa kutoka Ulaya wakija kuangalia tamaduni zetu.
The jury in Cheke Tharaka Nithi Chair Alphonse Kamwara encouraged the local leaders to embrace such events, saying they bring people together and promote national cohesion through cultural and traditional songs. Tilio Marco for Sunday Express.
Well, those are my neighbors there, neighboring Meru County. In our mother tongue, we say, Vai Badaraka. Now let's go to the counties, where musicians and other artists are set to earn at least 6 billion shillings annually from a new levy introduced by the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. The blank tape levy, also known as private copying levy, was rolled out last Friday in line with the music copyright.
According to the Music Copyright Society of Kenya CEO Ezekiel Mutua, the levy is a nominal fee set to be charged on all gadgets with capacity to record music and is meant to generate money to support creatives.
Na ni mojawapo ya njia bunifu ambazo tunatumia kuhakikisha kwamba wasanii wa nchi hii wametambulika. Tubadilishe mbinu za kuokota revenue. Tutafute mbinu ambazo zinaegemea teknolojia.
Meanwhile, the National Steering Committee on Peace Building has called for peaceful coexistence and fostering for a long-lasting cohesion among members of the pastoralist communities in Isiolo County. In Kisii, the county government has partnered with Kibos International Health Foundation to deal with cardiovascular ailments. The partnership will entail research, training and donation of medical equipment.
Both sides are determined to carry this project forward, our collaboration forward for the sake of our people in Kenya.
A cardiovascular center, which will not only serve our county, but the entire REC region economic bloc. Due to increased demand for specialist services in the country, we seek to increase the number of consultants in our fold, including nursing specialists, once the Public Service Board is in place.
Still in Kisii County, a sensitization campaign to end cycle of gender-based violence has been launched following increase in cases of gender-based violence.
Tunaenda around tukisema tokeni nje, msiumie, hata wababa wanachapwa, sio wamama peke yake. It's only that percentage ya wamama iko juu kushinda ile ya wababa, msikufe na shida zenyu.
And the Kenya Veterans for Peace Chief Executive Officer Nelson Sechere has hailed the just concluded Kenya Defence Forces national recruitment as transparent and free of corruption.
Every Kenyan received a message telling him, look, you can be an officer without corruption, and that has been achieved. Largely this year there has been very few cases of corruption or officers being involved in bribery. So it has been a very successful exercise.
And police in Makongeni, Thika, Kiambu County are holding one suspect in connection with theft of drugs at Makongeni Health Center. The officer who is in charge of the facility's pharmacy is said to have been nabbed after some drugs went missing mysteriously.
Kama wewe ni mfanyikazi wetu na kazi yako ni kuchukua madawa ukipeleka nje, siku zako zimehesabiwa na tunakungulika na tutakupata.
Meanwhile, the government and other stakeholders have been challenged to do more empowerment of female teachers working in the northern eastern region, as well as promote girl child education. The Kenya Women Teachers Association National Coordinator Saboke Dunstan said the girl child education was still under threats.
We are going to create an office in Garissa that will be able to tackle any challenges that the female teachers are undergoing.
Finally, residents of Lari constituency have a reason to smile after the government tarmacked some roads in the region. Residents welcome the project, saying it will ease movement, support trade, farming, as well as coexistence.
Mambo ya kubeba majani chai na mambo ya kutoa ya chakula. Pesa tulikuwa tunakatwa kwa factory ya barabara, sasa itarudi kwa mkulima.
Mpango huu wa barabara za Maumau tuko na zaidi ya kilomita 80. Going to 100, karibu kilomita 100 ziko katika constituency ya Lari. Na tutasaidia sana, hakuna mtu atatembea kilomita 2 kidogo kufika kwa lami.
For Sunday Express, I'm Gladys Mungai.
We promised you those details in as far as what has been happening in the sporting arena was concerned. We started on a high in regard to the qualification of the Shujaa team there for the Paris Olympics. They did us proud, but let's get the details from those who are right in that particular space. I'm referring to my colleague Bernard Okumu. Good evening, Bernard.
Good evening, Regina. Indeed, it is a fantastic evening for every Kenyan watching out there, with the Shujaa setting the pace this particular weekend, sealing that ticket to Olympics. And yes, indeed, there are, of course, other events that happened today, including the Kenyan Premier League as well as the Diamond League last night. I'm here to give you all that detail. I'm Bernardo Kumu, and welcome. We begin with the Kenya Premier League, or rather the Eugene Diamond League, the season finale of that particular circuit, where four-time world champion Faith Kipyegon clocked 3 minutes, 50.72 seconds to clinch her 5th Diamond League title in the women's 1500 meters race in the Diamond League final in Eugene, Oregon, USA. Fernando Manyara finished third in the men's 100 meters race, finishing in 9.85 seconds, while Simon Kiprop won the men's 3000 meters steeplechase race, clocking 8 minutes 6.26 seconds.
Faith Kipyegon has again posted great results after winning the women's 1500-meter race in 3 minutes 50.72 seconds to win her 5th Diamond League title. The 29-year-old Kenyan was comfortable throughout the 4 laps and beat world silver medalist Diribe Wetleji from Ethiopia and perennial opponents Laura Muir and Jessica Hull.
Kipyegon crosses the line there, 350.71.
In the men's 2,000-meter steeplechase race, Simon Kiprop took the lead after finishing in 8 minutes 6.26 seconds, just few seconds ahead of Ethiopian's Fayou Samuel, who finished in 8 minutes 10.74 seconds. Meanwhile, Ferdinand Omanyala secured the 3rd position in the men's 100-meter race, behind Coleman Christian and Liz Noah, who were position 1 and 2 respectively. 3 races are on card tonight, with Emmanuel Anyonyi and Wycliffe Kinyama participating in the men's 800-meter race. Beatrice Chebet and Lilian Kasait will be participating in the women's 5,000-meter race, while Mary Mora will participate in the women's 800-meter race.
And to Kenya Premier League now, where Posta Rangers moved to the top of the standings on goal difference after beating Sofapaka 3-1 in a league match played at Kasarani Annex. In another match, defending champions Gor Mahia thrashed Nairobi City Stars 4-1.
Peter Dhiongo scored a brace as Posta Rangers beat Sofapaka 3-1 at Kasarani Annex Stadium to record their 2nd league win of the season. New signing Jackson Macharia scored Posta's opening goal in the 49th minute, before Dhiongo added the 2nd goal in the 70th minute. Dhiongo completed his double 4 minutes later, before Oliver Maloba scored a consolation goal in the 70th minute. Posta Rangers are now top of the league standings with 7 points, same as defending champions Gor Mahia, but have a superior goal difference.
I'm happy because I think getting 3 points, and especially at the start of the league, is a motivation to the team. And again, I love the competition that I'm seeing in the team, because the game, basically we've won it from the depth.
Na waza Posta imetuzidia chances, wametumia chances zao zenye wamepata, na sie hatukuweza kutumia chances tumecreate, na ndio maana unaona tunatoka 3-1.
In other matches, Gor Mahia thrashed Nairobi City Stars 4-1. Kariobangi Sharks beat KCB 2-1, while Talanta humbled Morangasil 1-0. For Sunday Express, I'm Fred Jogu.
And to athletics now, where Kenya's Laban Kipngetich finished 2nd in the 2023 Sydney Marathon held this morning in Australia. Kipngetich completed the 42-kilometer race in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 43 seconds, 23 seconds behind Morocco's Othman El Goumri, who emerged victorious in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Ethiopia's Getahane Mola finished 3rd ahead of her compatriot Limeni Gatachu. Kenya's Moses Kibet and Elkana Langat in the women's competition. Kenya's Gladys Chesir clocked 2 hours, 28 minutes and 41 seconds to finish 3rd. United States' Betsy Saina emerged victorious ahead of Rahma to South Ethiopia. Kenya's Angela Tanoi finished 4th in 2 hours, 28 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, with more than 17,000 entrants, the event was the largest marathon to take place ever.
Big smile, the hands are pumping. It's Betsy's big day. Betsy Saina is our winner of the Sydney Marathon 2023. Female first across the line, Betsy Saina.
And Hanifa Tayabji emerged victorious with a remarkable score of 75 gross at the 14th leg of the 2023 NCBA Golf Series hosted at Sigona Golf Club, competing in a field of 266 golfers. Among them, Kenya's pro golfer Mohit Medirata, the handicap 2-player, displayed exceptional skills and determination to clinch the overall title of the final Kenya qualifier event of the 2023 NCBA Golf Series. He fended off a strong competition from Ali Shama Merali, who also showcased his golfing prowess, claiming top spot in the men's category with an impressive score of 77 gross. In the ladies division, Rachel Ndei secured the top spot after registering a score of 83 gross. Jaini Shah took the second position with a score of 89 gross. And to English Premier League now, where Bournemouth and Chelsea continue their lackluster starts to the campaign with the first goalless draw of the Premier League season. The Cherries are yet to win in the league under Andoni Iraola, while Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea have one win to show from their 5 league games. Of course, Arsenal winning 1-0 against Everton, moving to 4th place on the EPL standings. Well, you're now in the know. That's it from the sports at this hour. I'm Bernardo Kumo. Thank you so much for watching, but stand by for discussion on dyslexia, understanding dyslexia, and Regina Manyara will be speaking to Rosaline Nati and Aaron Phillips, who are already in the studio. But that's it for me. Good night.
Usiwe mtazamaji pekee, shiriki kwenye Lucky Game na pia wewe unaweza jishindia kama Sheila.
Nimeshinda TV 55 inch. Nimeshinda
na imefika *570#. Chagua Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Choose one of the boxes ambayo unahisi kwamba iko na bahati yako. Cheza sasa hivi, mahali popote, wakati wowote. Kumbuka ni *570#. Jishindie.
Shinda pesa moto moto.
Visit the Nairobi International Trade Fair from 25th September to 1st October at the Jamhuri Park Showground. Come learn, network, and have lots of fun. There will be innovations, farm and dairy produce, livestock, trade and sales, technology, SMEs exhibitions, funfair, food and entertainment. All are welcome. For the gate charges, perimeter, adults 300 Kenyan shillings and children 250. Special parties, adults 250, children 200.
You're still watching Sunday Express, and tonight we want to put matters into perspective when it comes to matters of dyslexia. Let me break it down for you. Dyslexia is a disorder that makes learning rather difficult, and it is a common learning disability among children, and it actually persists through life. So tonight I'm joined by two our guests tonight. They have history with dyslexia. They'll tell us their personal experiences and what they have done to make their life better, and what they're doing to make the lives of those with dyslexia also better. I'm talking about none other than Rosaline Kianati, who is the founder and executive director of Africa Dyslexia Organization. Welcome. And last but not least, the gentleman in the room, that is Aaron Phillips, who is the international ambassador for Africa Dyslexia. Very much welcome tonight.
Thank you so much for having us.
It is a disorder, and as parents and guardians, sometimes we refer to our children as being slow when they do not catch up in school. But now we understand it actually may be dyslexia. Mm-hmm. Let's pick it up from the top. Okay. There are several forms of dyslexia. As a guardian and a parent, what are the signs and symptoms? Let's start off with you, Rosaline.
Okay, so thank you so much for having us here tonight. This is going to be really helpful to spread awareness on dyslexia. to your audience. So with signs to observe in your child is usually when you have a child and you know very much that at this age, this child should be reading at a certain level, but the child is not matching up to it. So for example, they are flipping words and D as B, they are not recognizing letters, they have very little attention when it comes to learning. You might teach them one word, for example, a 3-letter word on page 1, and you feel like they have understood. You go on the next page and they cannot even recognize such word. In the school system, this child feel very shy to read in public. They feel shy to read loud. They can't get anything. Some of them even have issue with long attention span, so like short-term attention. Therefore, if you're teaching them in the classroom and it's too much minutes or hours in teaching, they kind of lose focus on this. And these students, you usually will identify them through the academic works. You will find that they are not performing, they are not doing well. And in our society, when it comes to the African continent, we will regard such students as either being blockheaded, lazy, dumb, stupid. Why am I teaching you and you're not getting? And the parents will be like, why are you not doing so well in school? So these are all the things, the contributing factor. Now I have to emphasize that there are so many of these students in the classroom, but it might not necessarily be that they are dyslexic. It could be of a different challenge. For example, I had a student who had issue with eye, but nobody knew. And so when he sits in the class, he cannot see the blackboard. The parent doesn't know he has issue with eye. The teacher doesn't know. So students like that, you can automatically jump like, oh, this child may be dyslexic.
Yes.
But it turns out that once the evaluations were done and everything, the child actually had issue with eye problem. And when the right prescription was given to the child started performing. And so I wanted us to highlight that so that teachers tomorrow don't wake up and be like, oh, I know this child in my class
might be dyslexic.
It might be.
As you're talking about dyslexia, we understand there are 5 categories. Maybe, Aaron, you can take us through that. There are 5 categories of dyslexia. And yes, we know that those that can be hereditary, but then these 5 categories, how do they differ from each other? Aaron?
Now, I'm not the expert in that. I would love to answer that question. Yeah. No, I'm going to have to let Rosie answer that question. Yes, she's the expert.
So we have dyslexia in different forms. So for example, I am dyslexic. Aaron is also dyslexic.
Yes.
But you can literally have 4 dyslexics here that we are all dyslexic,
yes,
but there are differences.
Different categories.
So there are categories like visual dyslexia, auditory dyslexia, lack of attention focus, sensory integration. However, I tell you, I have all of them.
Okay.
Aaron probably have all of them. So far in my line of work, I haven't seen a dyslexic who has just one.
Single one, yeah.
Right. So when we really want to emphasize on dyslexia, I want us to focus on all the aspects to really see. But there are levels. Some man may have mild dyslexia, and which I think Aaron is.
Mild.
But I have severe dyslexia because I started reading and writing at the age of 17. As a girl, it was very hard for me to go through school. Aaron is able to pick up words. At the age of 17, he was doing very well. You would have a child who is even 25 and still cannot read. Even there are adults, I have met them, that are hiding behind, thinking nobody knows they are, but they can't.
They can't. So how do you then assist these people, dyslexics, if I may use that, if that's appropriate now, to live a full life, so to speak? Because we actually take in a lot of data.
Yeah.
Visually, hearing, we take in a lot of data, and if we cannot process it, then, that's a challenge. So what are we doing, or what can we do?
Yeah, so my story, I was a horrible student and had no idea why I was so bad. Again, I had the label lazy and everything else. The thing about me, I think, separated myself from a lot of kids that were dyslexic, that didn't know or whatever the situation is, I always had a lot of confidence. I was very, very confident. So even though I graduated from high school with a horrible, I mean, my grade point average was terrible, as an adult, I was able to function because of my ability just to have confidence. But I could not understand why I struggled so much. I struggled with writing, I struggled with reading, I struggled with a lot of different things. So I was a little different. I kind of developed my own little way of learning, you know, my way. I taught myself chemistry, you know, to advance my career. So, you know, and I think that everyone's different to a certain extent if you don't know you have it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I mean, I have a pretty successful career, even though I did not know I only found I was dyslexic about 4 or 5 years ago. So it just kind of explained things, like it made sense. But then working with Rosie and her organization, it taught me, wow, it's like if I would have had a lot of that a lot of what she's teaching the teachers now, and again, I'm going to let her explain what they're doing. I know I would have graduated. I didn't graduate from college. I actually dropped out of college because it was so difficult, and I couldn't understand why. There was no parent that said, hey, you know what, I got you, here's what the problem is. And I know that it would have been a completely different situation for me had I had a Rosie.
Now, that particular link, Rosalind, how do we help teachers, you know, parents, and also those students who are dyslexic have a full life, you know, getting the data, the information, so that they can process their lives?
Okay, thank you so much. So I would say early intervention is key. So we at Africa Dyslexia Organization, we are talking about early intervention, accommodation, and support for our learners with dyslexics, or our learners in general who have challenges with studies. And so I'll take it one by one. When I say early intervention, we are looking at is our teachers trained enough to be able to identify that this child in my classroom is likely to be facing learning challenges. Therefore, we need to call the parents in, and together with the parents, we can know how to support this child. Is our teachers resourced enough? Do they have the expertise to do that? And so this is where we call on our countries that, listen, we have training colleges that these teachers go through training. What training are they taking when it comes to learning disabilities? When it comes to physical disabilities, we are doing very well. But what we
learning is a missing link.
Is a missing link. But you know that you cannot go to every classroom and find somebody with eye challenges there, but you will go to every classroom and find that child who is muted in the classroom and need help. So what do we need to do? We need to train our teachers to be able to teach in a multi-sensory approach so that all learners in the classroom can benefit. Regina, we have 4 types of learners in the classroom. 4 types of learners: people who learn by just through reading and writing. Someone will learn just by hearing. The other person will learn just by seeing it in pictures. The other person will learn by seeing it both in pictures and through hands-on practicals. So if that is the case, but then you study here in Kenya, so you know that a lot of us school practice the reading and writing version. So that means if you have a child like me who learns through kinesthetic way, or him who learns through pictorial and stuff, what happens to us?
You are left behind.
Exactly. So now we need to train our teachers to be able to teach all diverse learners in the classroom, and they will do better.
Now, before we head to the rest of the intervention, the breakdown that you gave us, you know, for intervention and how to live better, we have a new education system that has somewhat moved away from the theory, the reading and writing, and has incorporated hands-on talent, you know. Do you think this is the step in the right direction, that it can actually now, address these issues to some extent? What do you think?
You know, I heard about it when I got to Kenya, and I was so marveled. I was like, wow, that is excellent. And I heard also that we are not supposed to be repeating a child in the classroom. I was like, excellent. What my question is, for them to take this strategic move, did they have in mind all diverse learners, or they are taking the strategic move because they feel that is the right thing to do?
When the task force actually was put to task to try and change this particular system and get a new one, they felt that whatever they were churning out, the graduates at the end of the learning season were not very well equipped hands-on to deal with the gaps within the market, or rather the employment sector. So they wanted a holistic student. You do not only just read and write, but you can also think outside the box. Work on what works for you. If you're artistic, if you're into science, that I think that was one of the key areas when the report came out. This is why we're actually transiting from 844 to the CBC. Yes.
I think it's excellent.
I
love it. Even though I can tell, I don't know, and I might be mistaken, forgive me, I can tell that they took this move not really having in mind that dyslexic, however, it's going to benefit us. And so now that we are speaking on your channel and they are hearing, they should know that there are some children that learn differently.
Yes.
And this method they are taking, or this strategic journey they are taking, is going to benefit them. But we need to address that issue as well.
Yes.
We don't have to ignore that, because we are now doing hands-on stuff and very specific, we're going to ignore that. Let's address that, because dyslexics are some of the smartest you can get in your society. I'll give you some few names. For example, Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Richard Branson, Whoopi Goldberg, Will Smith, all these people, Steve Jobs of Apple, are dyslexics. And if you can study what runs through these people, is creativity and innovative.
Creativity and innovation.
Yes. So if these people are that, then let's pay attention and look at those students in our classroom that are not performing. Let's identify them, have assessment for them, put them on individual learning plan, and they will thrive. They will thrive. But then the teachers need to be trained to be able to deal with all that with
the special needs. But then there's a question of trauma. How do we address that? I can see Aaron actually nodding to that. Issue of trauma and how it helps us, or rather how it affects, someone's future.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a great question. For me personally, I was used to the word lazy and trifling growing up. It was really hard, as a child to be labeled that. You don't know what the heck's going on. But one of the things that I did is being dyslexic now is that I challenged that. I challenged that energy. I said to myself, okay, this is who I am, whatever, I'm going to figure it out. And as an adult, that's exactly what I did. I took all the stuff that happened to me as a child, everything that happened, and I put it into my career. Like before I started my company, I'm a founder of Green Earth Sustainable Solution. I used to work at Tesla. So I actually worked with Elon Musk. I used to meet with them every 2 weeks for my department. And one of the things at Tesla, they look for people who are creative, that could fix problems, that can solve things. So for me, my whole life, it didn't matter if I worked I used to be CEO of a metal recycling company, I had to figure things out. So as I'm figuring things out, after now, again, I find out I'm dyslexic. That's one of the reasons what made me so creative is the fact that I couldn't just rely on what I know. I had to rely on either fixing a problem or being that one guy that had no problems taking on a challenge. So that's why when I hear about what your curriculum is or what they're talking about, for me, I would have flourished in a situation like that. That would have been like, I'm just getting the chills right now just thinking about the kids that are in this kind of the same situation and how they could take that trauma, as you would say, and turn it into something positive, especially as they get older.
Well, it's good to hear from someone who is looking from out into the system.
Absolutely.
We've had a push and pull for the transition. We're still trying to get it right.
Yes.
But it's good to look at the positive aspect of it.
Definitely.
But then, when it comes to trauma, there's also a trauma associated with parents who are dealing with children with disability.
Yes.
Or, these impairments, the thought that my child cannot or is not doing as well in school, that now I have to move them to a school that caters.
Yeah.
How do we make parents understand that, it is not your fault? It has actually happened. How do we give them the requisite support?
Okay, so with parents, and I agree, no parents would want to sit down and you just come to them and say that there's something
wrong with your
child.
No
and
way.
when it comes to dyslexia especially, I have to say that it has nothing to do with health. The child is not sick. You're not going to give medication to the child. It simply means that your child brain is wired beautifully than any other person. And if the right learning approach is administered to your child is going to blossom and thrive. Now, it is the way of communicating that will make the parents flip out or be in acceptance. Since I came, I've gone to some schools and I hear that parents don't even want their child to be picked from the class and give individualized support because they feel like you are treating their child as a special needs child. It's because the parents, you have not communicated it with them. But imagine if you call a parent and you really sit down and say that, hey, I think your child learns differently in a very smart, different way. And you break it down to the parents and give them examples of people who are dyslexic. It kind of put them at ease. And then you let them know this has nothing to do with medication, this has nothing to do with health-related issue, unless because a child can have what we call co-mobility issue. So I can have dyslexia and also experience ADHD. So if I'm experiencing that, depending on what level I am with ADHD, I might be required to take a medication. But you're not taking a medication for dyslexia, you take a medication for something else. So when that is breaking down, the parents will find they're very easy with all the information that they are receiving. And then you, the school as well, showing them that you are ready to work with them. And not just saying that, oh, I think your child is quite lazy in school. I think your child is giving us trouble. Your child is, because normally, because we are being told lazy, stupid, and all that, we tend to put on a character of defensiveness, right? So sometimes we come across as the child who is troublesome in the school. So if you go that way saying that your child is troublesome, your child is this, listen, the parents will block you from saying that. So it's all about how you communicate it and the solution you lay down to the parent that you as a school, you're going to work with them to support their child.
You have gone through our system, and I like that you have sampled 1, 2, 3 schools in the course of your stay here. Do you think we have the right support in place, especially in school? Or is there, as you've said, we need to increase capacity? But do you think we'll have the right capacity, or rather the right resource to build on?
Well,
looking at our public schools.
So far, I haven't gone to a public school yet, but the schools that I have visited, I would say that they are on the right track. And I have to also highlight this organization, which is Dyslexia Organization Kenya. They are based here in Kenya and have done fantastic awareness and advocacy. They also have an inclusive school that take care of dyslexic, autism, and all that, which is in Kitengela. They're doing amazing work. Such an organization have the resources to support your country, Kenya. And what the government, especially the Ministry of Education, needs to do is to reach out to them and work with them so that they can put in the resources together. I understand that you have a teacher training college for special education. And actually, one of the founders graduated from the school. But she told me, listen, we did the special education, all right. But what we did on learning disability was just like a paragraph. So now we need to harness that. We need to make it very like a huge component as that, so that teachers are required to take dyslexia training. Now in New York, you cannot be a teacher in New York without taking a training in dyslexia. It is mandatory in New York. But it doesn't mean that they are training every teacher to become a dyslexic reading specialist. It just simply means that everybody take it so that you understand and know when you see that child in school. Then out of those who are taking the training, those who are very passionate are going to come out and be like, we will specialize in this area and support the children. And we will all move in.
Wow. Thank you for that insight. And as you've said, this is national broadcaster. Government is watching. We say Kenya is watching. So that is going to be put into practice, so to speak. We have been speaking to our 2 guests tonight, trying to understand dyslexia. And our take home is that it has nothing to do with you as a parent. There is no medication that you can give to your child. They just need to understand that they just see and learn differently.
Yes.
They're just able differently when it comes to matters of studies. We have been speaking to none other than Rosalind Kianati, who's a founder and executive director of Africa Dyslexia Organization, and Aaron Phillips, who's international ambassador for Africa Dyslexia. That puts a cap on matters Sunday edition here, Sunday Express. I'm Regina Manyara, and I wish you a great week ahead.
The future is hands-on, and Sensei College is at the front line of technical institutes in Kenya.